Today we're going to be doing the Fox in the Woods. Now, write your name on the back with Sharpie, and then you're going to be starting with your whole background. The fox is not something you need to concern yourself with. You can always choose a different animal, different colors, or what have you. In your palettes, you're going to start with some white, black, and then if you choose, you can also add any violet in there or blues or anything like that. And my fox colors also, so that's something to consider. And I've used some pearlescents. Pearlescents are great, except they're not strong. So make sure when you're painting that you also have a base of the white over here too. I have some of these other ones for the purple and the pink that are kind of nice, but it's your choice. To start with, you're going to think about your horizon line and where you want things to be. Now, if you notice, the horizon line's somewhere around here on the picture. So on my canvas, I might give myself a little indication of it. You don't have to go very dark. Then what I'm going to do is start on my base. I am going to be putting in lots of white paint. As I paint this way, I'm just going to go ahead and layer in white and some pearl. Going back and forth, this is important that you go horizontal and you lay it on thick. Now, it takes a chunk, a lot of white. And as I said, I like the shimmer, so I'm putting the shimmer in here too. And now I need to add a little bit of the gray, and I'm also gonna choose violet, because I've got a great base now down of my white. It's solid white. Going back, I'm using a large brush. And now I'm gonna intermix some other colors in there. Now, when looking at the example, you can see that there's shadow areas by wherever the fox is gonna go. So I'm gonna grab a little bit of black, not a lot. And I'm gonna start to lay this in. Keep pulling horizontal. I'm also going to put in my purple, because I think that'd be pretty. Purple's one of my favorite colors. And some more blacks. Now, every now and then, you're going to want to clean off your brush to make sure you're not getting too much color on here. And you don't want any stopping points. So if you're gonna pull off, just go right off. The other thing I want you to do is paint your edges while you're there. I've gotten myself like a placemat underneath, so I'm not painting my tables. Please do the same. Taking in just a little bit of color. And this is not to be perfect. Later, we may add a couple more drop shadows where trees are gonna make, and we can actually see where the trees are gonna be. I have a little black over here, a little shadow coming in from the side. If you get drag marks, like I've got going on right here, you may need a little more white paint. You don't want the drag marks. You want the snow to be very full and not to see any of the texture of the canvas. In the middle and work my way out, because I kind of want the middle to be the whitest part for the tree area. Go all the way down to your horizon line. And as I come out this way, I'm going to start to intermix a little bit of black. Not a lot, just a little. Now it's time to draw our trees. Now, when doing the trees, you want to set some of them coming more in the forefront, while others are going to be set back here. The best way to do the trees is to find a brush size that you're comfortable with. I would recommend a square one would be the best. Put a little bit of water on your brush and then grab your black. My paint is still wet. If your paint is not wet, you probably want to grab a little bit of white in with that brush. Coming down here, I will start my trunk of the tree. And then you're going to continuously pull up, gathering more paint. Now these can have texture on it, so it doesn't matter if it's not as consistent, and your edge doesn't have to be perfect either because it's representing a tree that's very uneven. Now we don't need a lot of branches for these trees. They're very loose. And as it comes to the top, right now you can see it dragged a little bit right here. So what I did is I put some water on my brush and I'm going to come right where it started to drag and I'm going to go over that area. Because even if it's a little bit see-through, that doesn't make a difference. It's just more about the fact that you don't want to see the drag marks. You want everything to look very free. Maybe I might put another one of these. Whatever you do though, you can't have the branch here thicker than the branch down here, otherwise the branch would fall off. There's one of my trees, and then I'm going to keep going. As they go back into space, you're going to see that they should get lighter. So the ones in the forefront should be the darker trees, and as they go back, you're going to get them to be a little bit lighter. Step is to draw the fox or whatever animal you choose to do. Now, because we're on acrylic paint, you can't do a lot of erasing, so you kind of want to lay it in as quick as possible. One of the things is do not keep whatever animal is below the horizon line completely. Have the animal start here but go above the horizon line that you have back here. It will just look better. I'm going to kind of keep a little bit out. I'm going to start the snout way up here. And I'm going to start with kind of a rectangle. And then it comes out. And you just have to give kind of a light guideline of where it's going to be. And then he'll have his tail and an ear. When setting up the ear, make sure it's back far enough to draw. Don't worry about eyes right now, but you just have to remember when doing this, it's going to take a little more layers than it did in the background in order to be going over it. All right, what I would probably start with is the off-white of the belly and laying it in thick with some paint. And then I would start with the orange in the back. One of the things I ended up doing before is I did pull a little bit of white down here on top, just for a little shine. Now starting with the belly, I might even add a tiny bit to make an off-white. All right. As I said, lay it in thick. You do some mixing right on there. The belly's kind of big. That little extra texture might be kind of good for the fur. Make sure you go in the direction of its growth. Some of the finishing touches that I ended up doing is I did heap on a lot of white onto my brush and then went ahead and added some snow on top by the fox and by the trees that are up close and such, so that it will look a little more three-dimensional. I also added some cast shadows in there underneath some of the snow and trees, but this is just kind of those last things. You're gonna note that there are snowflakes everywhere. Now, yes, you can go in and do the snow here, but what I'm gonna first start with is a little bit of a wet toothbrush. I'm gonna dip it into my water, and you can do this with stars and such, and there's paint on the brush, and then I'm gonna flick it. This way I automatically get a pattern on top. Then I can take and make a couple more ones that are a little bit bigger. If you feel like your snow is a little too bright, I use the guidelines first wherever the toothbrush would land, and I would do that. But you can always take a wet paintbrush and dab on them to loosen them up. Just to let you know that if you think they're too much, then just take a wet paintbrush to dab them to make them a little better and more